So welcome everyone to the Owlkids Books Spring 2021 Staff Picks live event. A bit of background on what this event is. Prior to COVID, every book season, we would be putting out a video where we'd ask our staff from the books and magazine side, magazines being Chirp, Chickadee, and Owl, to talk about their favorite books or some of their favorite books from our latest season. We'd film it, record it, and then put it out close to when the books were coming out. Of course, COVID changed a lot of stuff. We don't have an office. We're not all together to film things. So we decided to turn this into a live event. So we get to see a lot of the people who we love and all of the creators of these amazing books and just get to present them to all of our followers, all of the people that we love to share books with. So today you're going to hear about all of our books for spring 2021 publishing in March and April, and you'll also be hearing about all of our conversions, so books coming out in paperback for that season as well. All of us have chosen a few books. We love all of them, but there are a few that are particularly special to us. So we've chosen a bunch of great ones to talk to you about today, and you will hear about all of them. There were no favorites. So I'm just going to kick things off with Judy, who's going to be talking to us about two very special books from this season. So Judy, please go ahead.
Thanks, Emma, and thanks. It's great to see everybody here. I'm Judy Brunswick. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing, and I do have a couple of, I got a whole bunch of books I'm going to be talking to you about, 2 right now and 3 later. But I am going to start off with a really terrific book called I Sang You Down from the Stars by Tasha Spillett Sumner and illustrated by Michaela Goad. This is a delightful book, an own voices book from the Indigenous perspective about welcoming a child into the world. I love the idea, the Indigenous idea that a child selects the family, and this book is all about preparing for the arrival of a child. A reminder that Michaela is the Caldecott winning illustrator of We Are the Water Protectors. So you'll see a familiarity with this style of illustration. It's a wonderful story where the mother decides that she needs to put a bundle together for her child, and she finds an eagle feather, some sage, some cedar, and creates a star blanket, a little stone from the river. So all parts of the earth and of her life to welcome a child in. I'm going to show you, if I can get these right, I'm going to show you beautiful spread here. Hopefully there's enough light here to see that, where the mother is welcoming or is searching for all the various parts to put into the bundle. And here is, this beautiful, beautiful illustration of the child, where the child is welcomed into the world. So this is about waiting and the patience for the child to be born, the anticipation of their birth. It's a beautiful holistic view of how children and families are all part of the earth and one. And it really shows how, in this case, the child really completes the family. To my mind, 1, it's a beautiful book. 2, it is such an amazing way to anticipate the arrival of a child. And this is where I'm putting my sales director hat on right now. The best possible baby shower gift you could ever find. So this is, I anticipate we're going to do super well with this. This is a book that we have rights for in Canada only, and I just anticipate it's going to do super well. The next book I'm presenting is Frogness by Sarah Nelson and illustrated by Eugenie Fernandez. Hi, Sarah, I saw you here. This is a delightful book about the joys of being in nature. It's a story of Sammy and Chocolate. And here they head out. I'm going to show you this. They head out into the marsh in search of frogs. They are drawn out by the early evening frog song because they obviously have been trying to catch frogs but have not managed to do so. But and of course, frogs being what they are, slippery and jumpy and all that sort of thing, they prove to be very elusive. So Sammy and Chocolate just lay down and kind of chill out and take in the frog song and take in all of the joy of the feeling of nature. And of course, as they settle in and are a little bit mindful of things, the frogs start becoming curious and jump out to them. So they are able to play with frogs. And so this is a book that is really about the joy of being in nature, about the idea of sitting back and relaxing, accepting what's around you. There are, yeah, it's delightful. I'm going to show you this point here where after they've searched, I have to see if I'm doing this the right way. There we go. They lay down and are just chilling out, listening to the frog song because it is so rich and so vivid. One of the things that I found out by reading this book, and you will too, but I'm giving you the secret now, is that do you know that there are 7,000 different species of frogs, and each one of them has a different frog song. So there's a little page at the back of the book with some information and about frogs and frog song. But I love this book because it really promotes the joy of being in nature, patience, mindfulness, and just sort of sheer exhilaration of the experiences that you're living. I'm going to pass it over to Mandy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mandy Ng. I'm the editor of Chickadee Magazine. Shout out for Chickadee there. One book I'd like to talk about from the Owlkids Fall 2021 list is Tao by Tao Lam. And so this is a picture book. It's inspired by the author's experience growing up in Canada with a name that was unfamiliar to her peers. So the book goes through names that people gave her instead of Tao, using like lots of humor, like it got turned into tail, toe, towel. Just want to show you here. It just uses a lot of fun typography, illustrations, and real photographs as well. Let's see if I can find photographs. I could really relate to this book because I grew up with a last name that was unfamiliar for people to pronounce, so I really felt this book in my soul. Then I read this book with my daughters, and they also related to it because they have my last name too. So one of the favorite spreads was this one here, where she explains, "My name is Tao. It helps if you take out the H when you say it, but remember to put it back in when you spell it." And just a story of my kids really took this book in. So at bedtime, my daughter quoted that page exactly without looking at the book and applied it to our last name too. You know, put in an I in front of the NG, but just remember to take it out when you spell it. So it was really, really fun to see her do that. It's just wonderful to read a book that addresses diversity in a way that kids can really relate to. Their names are so important to them. I wish I had a book like this growing up, so thank you for writing it, Tao. And next up is Melissa.
Hey everyone. One of my favorite, well, first of all, my name is Melissa. I'm the editor of Owl Magazine. One of my favorite books from the Owlkids 2021 fall list is Snoozorama by Maria Birmingham and Kyle Reed. Just want to make sure. This book is really great. It's basically talks about how how animals sleep in nature. And I love that it draws these parallels between kids in each section. So for instance, there's a part that talks about, I can find it here, talks about how otters use seaweed to tuck themselves in at night, kind of similar to what we do with our blankets, obviously. And I thought that was really special. And I think that's a great way to keep kids intrigued by a book as well, too, because they obviously love those connections. I actually did read this book with my 5-year-old, and she really enjoyed all of the facts. I think we both learned some interesting things about animals and their sleep habits, but she also really loved the illustrations. They're so beautiful, as you can see. They're so vibrant and just really fun illustration style. Kids and animals, everything looks so cute in this book. We landed on our favorite section of the book. I don't think this is going to come as a shock to anybody coming from a 5-year-old, but the favorite fact was that the yellow-billed oxpecker actually sleeps in the armpit of a giraffe at night. So yeah, just show you that page right there. I found that intriguing as well. I didn't know that. So yeah, anyway, it's a great book, and I think it's going to do very well. Also, really great bedtime book. Like, yes, it's perfect. She was off to snoozeland after that because she wanted to be just like the animals. So that was great. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Ella. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. I'm Ella. I'm the Rights and Editorial Assistant, and one of my favorite books for the Spring 2021 list is Tears. Tears is about how everybody cries, from big kids to little kids, and even sometimes adults. It's also about how there are many different types of tears, big, small, fast floods, and slow trickles. But mostly it's about how it's really okay to cry, and that tears help us to recognize when we're having big emotions, and when we express those emotions, we can start the healing process and come back ready for new adventures. So one of my favorite things about this book is how it passes no judgment on anyone who cries, even the toughest among us, like the scaly-skinned crocodiles. I don't know if you can see the scaly-skinned crocodile, but I just love that. And also, as much as you might think that this book might be a sad book or make you feel sad emotions because it's all about crying and tears, it's actually a really joyful celebration of expressing our emotions without any shame. So I think it's just absolutely lovely. Did I mention it's by Sybil Delacroix? I don't know if I remember to mention the author, but it's fantastic and so heartfelt, and definitely one of my favorites this season. So with that, I will pass it on to Angela.
Thanks, Ella. Hi, everybody. My name's Angela. I am the publisher of Chirp, Chickadee, and Owl, the Owlkids magazines. And I'm very lucky because I get to talk about two books today. So the first one is The Sorry Life of Timothy Schmo. So before I say anything else, it's probably the best name of a book ever, I think. So this is written by Stephanie Simpson McLennan and illustrated by Zoe C. So this is just a wonderful book, and it tells the story of young Timothy Schmo, who is a spirited child, and he pretty much runs into trouble more often than not. So his frustrated father tells him, you have to write letters of apology after all of these incidents. But what's really funny is that every letter that he writes, it says sorry, but there's also a little element of I'm sorry, but not sorry. So one of my favorites is one of the first where it says, Dear Dad, I'm sorry I called you that name. I did it because I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and wanted to play outside. But you made me clean my room. Sincerely, truthfully, Timothy. P.S. I forgive you for wrecking my morning. I think a lot of us have heard that tone from kids in our lives. But these letters are such a great, fun and engaging way to present a story in a unique way. And the illustrations are totally hilarious and complement the story so much. I think a lot of kids and parents will see themselves in the words and the illustrations. I thought during a loud toothpaste incident this morning that this picture might be a picture of me, what I look like. But in all seriousness, the book's overall message of unconditional love and acceptance by your family is just so important. And I think with everything that's going on, it's just something that we could all use a lot more of right now. So really check this one out. So my second book, also very exciting, is Pierre and Paul Dragon. So this is actually the second book in the Pierre and Paul series, and it's a super fun and adventurous story. And it really highlights the power of imagination and friendship, and it does it in 2 languages. So Pierre speaks French and Paul speaks English, but none of that keeps them from being able to play really well together. So just an example here. Pierre and Paul are great explorers. Ils sont aussi des amis, friends and explorers. And you can see a map there, and just lovely illustrations, super cute kids there. So for me, this book is kind of extra special because as a parent of a child in French immersion, it offers so much for us to read together. The story flows and is written so well, and it really works with the rich illustrations to provide clues so that whether you're speaking French or English, you can understand the story. So I like to relate everything to real life that's happening right now, but certainly with this story of friendship, right now a lot of friends are separated and aren't able to be silly and play together the way Pierre and Paul are. So I feel like reading this with your kids and them going on this adventure with these two best buddies is just, super great. So highly recommend Pierre and Paul, and I will pass on to Jennifer.
Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer and I'm the editorial director of Owlkids Books, and one of my favorite picks from our spring 2021 list is Barnaby, written by Andrea Curtis and illustrated by Cass Reich. The star of this beautifully illustrated picture book is a blue budgie named Barnaby, and he is a bird who has it all: a golden cage and a loving owner who gives him all the snacks and all the attention that he could ever want. But one day, Barnaby's charmed existence falls apart when his owner dares to bring home a friend for him, and it's a little yellow canary. Barnaby is so put out by this new arrival that he storms out of the open window, and before long, so you can see him storming out the window here, he throws a temper tantrum, and then he storms out the window, and then he's hopelessly lost. So he is really hungry and he's thirsty, and when he comes across a flock of wild sparrows, he at first looks down his beak at them, but then he realizes how much they have to teach him. So when Barnaby finally returns home, he is a changed bird. So I love the subtle message in this book about sibling rivalry and about jealousy. And I just loved following Barnaby's journey of self-discovery, how he leaves his safe home, which is literally a gilded cage, and he's filled with anger, and he goes out into the wider world where he learns about empathy and inclusion. And then he demonstrates what he learned in a newfound compassion that he shows to his young friend at the end. I'll just show you. There he is. He brings a little berry because one of the wild birds that he met also brought him a berry. So that's how he returns the favor. So Cass's illustrations are colorful and adorable, perfectly capturing Barnaby's stormy emotions throughout the story. And check out these gorgeous end papers. And now I'll hand it over to Miriam, who's next.
Thank you. So hi everyone, my name is Miriam and I'm the editorial assistant for Chirp, Chickadee, and Owl. And one of my favorite books from the Owlkids Spring 2021 list is Carmen and the House That Gaudí Built by Susan Hughes and Marianne Ferrer. I think Susan is here as well, so hi. This book is about a young girl named Carmen who absolutely adores exploring the woods behind her home with her very dear salamander friend, whom she calls Dragon. But one day, Carmen's family announces that they're moving to the city, and Carmen is absolutely miserable knowing that she'll lose her connection to nature and also to her dear friend Dragon. But then she meets Antoni Gaudí, who is no ordinary architect. Carmen discovers that Gaudí has a passion for the natural world and designs the house as an imitation of nature with walls that curve and rise like caves, a mosaic flooring that sparkles, and a fireplace shaped like a mushroom. There's even room for Dragon. So a moment that I really enjoyed in the book was when Carmen discovers that Gaudí has a passion for nature, where he goes for walks and discovers things like shells, pine cones, feathers, and more. Eventually, Carmen begins to see that he incorporates his discoveries into his work, and the house begins to unravel in front of Carmen like a work of art. I felt like I was being swept away with Carmen and discovering things alongside her. I think the book does an amazing job of really making the reader feel like they're also exploring with Carmen. And the illustrations are also so beautiful and really lend themselves to the whimsical feel of the story, as you can see. And it's such a heartwarming story about discovery and keeping an open mind about things because they just might end up surprising you. And I will definitely be reading this with my niece, and it's just an absolute must read. And now I think I am handing it off to Taylor. So thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Hi, everybody. I'm Taylor, and I'm the publicity assistant for Owlkids Books. And one of my favorite books for spring is Journey Around the Sun. It's by James Gladstone and illustrated by Yara Eshett. And it's all about Halley's Comet, which you can see here on the cover. It's a great book for science and for STEM, but what I think makes it really unique is that the story is actually told from the perspective of the comet. Because as much as humans have seen the comet, it's seen us with its return every 75 years. And there's also factual captions in the spread to give some nonfiction context to the comet's observations and to the art, while the comet really observes our history and our growth here on Earth. I also really love Yara's art. I'll show you a few spreads. It does a really great job at depicting different eras, as well as the comet itself and how it was seen by different people. And also in the book, there's some really great spreads of space and technology. If I could show you a couple. They're just really beautiful. And yeah, I definitely recommend this book, especially if you're looking for a book for space lovers, astronomy lovers. But it's also just great for a sense of wonder and curiosity. It's a really lovely read, and I would recommend it. And that, I will pass it to Danielle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Danielle. I'm the Sales and Circulation Assistant here at Owlkids. And the book that I will be talking about today, one of my favorite books from our Spring 2021 list is The Wind in the Trees by Todd Stewart. This is an intergenerational story that is entirely a conversation between two trees. And it starts when when a little pine seedling starts up a conversation with an older tree nearby. And as the younger tree grows, the older tree shares its knowledge and wisdom of the wind that blows through the forest, and how that wind both helps and affects them. And as the time passes throughout the book, we see the younger tree grow big and strong and full, while we also see the wind take its toll on the older tree. Until one day when the older tree falls after a big storm, and the younger tree is seemingly left alone until one day another little seedling is blown in and takes the place of where the older tree had fallen. And the cycle begins again and a new relationship is born. One thing I really, really love about this book are the absolutely stunning silkscreen illustrations throughout. I think this one is my particular favorite, showing the northern lights in the background. But all of the pages are, I'll show you one more. All of the illustrations are just absolutely beautiful. So this is a book, a really beautiful and poignant story that highlights intergenerational relationships and the exchange of wisdom with those relationships, as well as the cycle of life and loss, and highlights the theme of the environment and environmental stewardship as well. I really love this book quite a lot. I'm really looking forward to giving it as gifts for a lot of my younger family members. It's one that I just really enjoy myself. So I really hope you enjoy it. And with that, I will pass it along to Emma.
Hi, everyone. One of my favorite books from the spring 2021 season is This House is Home by Deborah Kerbel and illustrated by Yonglin Kang. It's a really beautiful story about a bunny family that lives in a beautiful greenhouse in their neighborhood. They love it so much, but when construction workers threaten to tear it down to build a highway, the little bunny Lily has to think creatively and quickly to come up with a solution to keep their home, while maybe finding a new place to call home. So it's a really beautiful story based on the concept of Japanese nail houses, which are houses that are kind of stuck in seas of construction when developments happen. So houses stuck right in the middle of roadways or other projects. One of the things I really loved about this book was the art. It's beautiful. I'll show you one of my favorite spreads here. When Lily saves the last remaining flower in the area, and you can kind of see that maybe spark some inspiration for a creative solution to the problem that she and her family are facing. One thing I really love about this book as well is just how it highlights the creativity and ingenuity of kids, and just how they can sometimes come up with solutions that adults wouldn't imagine, that maybe work better than solutions adults could imagine. And it's also just a really great book that deals with going through changes, and sometimes how changes are not always negative and can actually be adventures. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Grace.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace and I'm the admin assistant at Owlkids. My favorite book from the 2021 list is Carry On. Now this book is a collection of poems and portraits by young immigrant kids, outlining their experiences with immigrating, uprooting their life from one country to another, experiencing new cultures for the first time, and all the heavy emotions that come along with that process. And a bit of backstory about the book. So the book was the idea of Simon Belloris, who ran a creative writing workshop in Quebec for young immigrant kids. And they were very moved by the stories that they heard, and so they were put in touch with the artist Roger, who painted the portraits for the book. So it's a compilation of a bunch of poems by these kids with portraits to match along with them. I'll show you some. So the poems are quite short, but they're very poignant. They have a through line of a lot of heartbreak and sadness, but also a lot of hope and excitement for the future. So it's quite a heavy book. It's a book that I feel like inspires a lot of discussion, a lot of meditation. Even just the size of the portraits of the book on the page. You take your time with it. You could speed through it if you wanted to. It's quite short, but I find when I gave it to my mom, my boyfriend, to peek through, it takes about half an hour, I think, to get through, just looking at all the portraits and just thinking about it and meditating on it. So yeah, I can't personally speak for the immigrant experience, but I know what it is like to leave your home, especially if you're not ready for it, and leaving one life behind and entering a new life at a young age. These kids are definitely forced to adapt and learn resilience at quite a young age. And I think a lot of the poems reflect that. They are quite heavy, they are quite sad, but my favorite ones are the ones that end in a lot of hope and excitement. And I'm gonna read you my favorite one. Immigration is heartache, but a lucky break too. I had to leave something behind in my country, but I learned a new language. I had to leave my friends and my cousins, but I met other ones. I move on from heartache, gifted with another language for a fuller embrace. So immigrating can be quite disorienting, but it also can be a gift, as he put it. So it's a heavy book, but I highly recommend it for both kids and adults alike. It's very important. With that, I'll pass it on to John.
Hello there. My name is John Crossingham. I am the senior writer for the Owlkids magazines and the website owlconnected.com. And the book from spring 2021 that I would like to speak about is this one, Camp Average Away Games. So this was written by Craig Battle, and Craig is actually someone whom I and many of us here at Owlkids know quite well and have known for some time. He was the editor of Owl magazine for many years, and this is the third book in this Camp Average series that he has written. It's a novel that is set at a camp called Camp Avalon, aka Camp Average, filled with lots of enterprising, but possibly not always as talented as other kids, student athletes, who carry on despite these things and have all kinds of great misadventures and humorous altercations and stuff like that. And the thing that's really always struck me in reading these books, and you know, part of this is maybe because I know Craig a bit, but Craig is someone who I think has always had an appreciation for something I feel strongly about too, which is that sports are a great metaphor for life, and even beyond just sort of team building, sports, how we play them, how we're invested in them as fans or as athletes, they reflect a lot of how we feel about all kinds of things in our world, our sense of fairness, our sense of teamwork, our sense of goals. And Craig has a really great gift for using that as a template to, explore all kinds of elements of what it means to be a young kid figuring out your place in the world. He's funny, he's conversational, he's inventive in his plotting, but he really understands kids. I think part of that is being an editor of a kids magazine for a long time, but he gets how they speak, he gets the plotting, he gets the grudges they hold, the camaraderie, the importance of appearances and teamwork and all of those things. And it's led to a really successful trilogy of books, and this is a fantastic conclusion to it. I can't recommend it enough, and I think it really holds its own in this list as a book that works for kids who are voracious chapter book readers, but also reluctant readers as well, who might be enticed by the fact that, all right, well, I don't love reading so much, but I do love sports, so I'll give it a shot. And if they give it a shot, it will be well rewarded. I'm done now. I would like to pass that on to Judy, who is going to wrap things up, kind of, I think.
Hi again. It's perfect timing that you spoke, John, about Camp Average, the third book, because the second book in the trilogy, okay, this is the first one. This is the one that started it all. This has been available in paperback and has been doing extremely well. Got a Kirkus, sorry, I'm hiding myself. Got a Kirkus starred review. And one of the things I love just about this series is the motto of the camp is, it's okay to be okay. I feel like that's a bit of a motto for life right now. But with Camp Average Double Foul, the sports moves from baseball in the first one, sorry. Baseball to basketball, and this time around, girls are introduced to the camp. So a whole new kind of way of dealing with friendships and it within the camp. And of course, the not so great camp director, at least that's what the kids think, pits the boys against the girls in a basketball tournament. So it's wonderful to see great girl athletes be part of this, and but the thing that I love about the whole series is it's a really great group of kids. It's a diverse group of kids, and John, John mentioning the metaphor of sports as a way to learn about life, I think is one that I agree with, since I played a lot of sports when I was younger too. So anyway, so book 2 in paperback following book 1, and then book 3, which John just spoke about, will come out next year as a paperback. So the whole series will be set in that way. Another one of our books that we've just we're putting into paperback is Winter's Coming, and this is by Jan Thornhill and illustrated by José Bissaillon, and it is the story of Lily, a snowshoe hare, who was just born the previous spring, but it's the fall and the leaves are changing and things are starting to happen. And here you can see Lily, really quite adorable. And she hears that winter's coming. Well, Lily's never heard of winter because she was born in the spring. So she runs around and talks to all of her friends in the forest and trying to figure out what winter is, because Lily thinks winter is a being of some sort, and as she encounters each of the animals talks about how they prepare for the change of the season. And you can see here's Lily a little further along, and observant children and possibly adults might note that there's a little bit of white fur there, because of course Lily, as a snowshoe hare, adapts to the winter herself and doesn't realize it until the end of the book. So it's a lovely exploration of seasonal change, of how animals prepare for seasonal change and adapt to the situation. And as with lots of Jan Thornhill books, there's a wonderful bit of nonfiction content here explaining all the various adaptations of the animals. So not only is it a wonderful storybook, there's also lots of good science content. And last but not least is this Panama, also by Jan Thornhill, but this one's illustrated by Soyeon Kim. And it is the story of Sammy, a Wilson's warbler, who one day wakes up and realizes all of the other Wilson's warblers have gone, and Sammy needs to figure out where they've gone. And of course, this is about bird migration and seasonal change. And this is and here we go and this wonderful art by Soyeon Kim is amazing. So this is a ptarmigan that Sammy encounters. So the same sort of thing. It's the animal goes various places and encounters other animals in its search for Panama, which is where Wilson's warblers migrate for the winter. This is one of my absolute favorite spreads. It's just stunning. Sammy lands on these whales and thinks that they're an island, discovers that's not quite the truth. Anyway, and then again, as with Jan Thornhill books, there's a map and additional information. So lots of extras here about animal migrations. So a lovely story as well as great science content. And I'm going to pass it back to Emma at this point.
Wow. Oh, it's so nice to just see all together all the amazing books that are coming out this season. It makes me all warm inside. Thank you everyone for attending our list launch for spring 2021, our staff picks event. It was so nice to see all of you, so nice to see so many lovely comments about these books, so nice to see creators who've put so much effort into these beautiful books. I'm so happy to be here with you all today. If you are a blogger, reviewer, if you're interested in receiving a review copy of this book, I've put my email in the chat there. Feel free to send me a note. And if you have any other questions, feel free to send me a note and I can direct you to anyone in the Owlkids marketing team can help you with your inquiry. Really appreciate everyone here. And I think if there are any questions like that, feel free to email me. And I think that we'll finish it here. Thank you all so much for attending. And I hope to see you for the next one for fall 2021. Bye.